A deserted country road winds through dense fog. Tall trees loom overhead. A single car headlights cut through the darkness. Inside the car, Jason Harper driving and Emily Harper sitting in the passenger seat. Jason, are you sure this is the right place? The realtor said it's just down this road. The house is supposed to be abandoned for years, perfect for renovations. The car rounds a bend and suddenly the silhouette of an old decaying mansion emerges from the fog. Its windows are dark, some broken vines crawling up the walls. Jason parks the car. They get out. The wind picks up, carrying a faint, whispering voice. Emily shivers. The front door groans as Jason pushes it open. The air inside is cold, stale, and smells faintly of decay. They walk in. Their footsteps echo in the empty halls. Dust swirls around them in the moonlight. A grand staircase leads up to the second floor, its banister warped and rotting. Suddenly, a faint child's laugh echoes from upstairs. Emily freezes. Did you hear that? Emily Enchka Ging. Probably a raccoon or something. They continue, exploring. In the dining room, a long table is covered in cobwebs. Chairs are overturned. A silver candelabra lies on the floor, dented. Jason picks it up and shakes it gently. Then the candelabra flies from his hands across the room, smashing into the wall. Jason and Emily stumble back, horrified. A loud creaking sound comes from the staircase. Both look up. A dark shadow moves across the top landing. It disappears. Emily gasps. Dort. Emily unwraps a blanket, trying to warm herself. A sudden knock comes from the window. Both freeze. Who's there? Who's there? Emily startled. Jason slowly approaches the window. Nothing is outside. He sighs in relief. The knock comes again, louder this time. A faint, distorted child's voice whispers, "Go away." Emily clutches Jason's arm. The temperature in the room drops dramatically. Their breath becomes visible. Suddenly, the lights from their flashlights flicker. Shadows stretch unnaturally along the walls. A cold, unseen hand brushes Emily's shoulder. She screams. Jason grabs a nearby chair, swinging it wildly, but hits nothing. The room is empty, yet the presence is undeniable. A low, guttural whisper fills the room. You shouldn't have come. Jason and Emily huddle together, terrified as the first real night of horror begins in Willow Creek. Jason and Emily are huddled on the floor, clutching each other. The cold in the room is unbearable. Their breaths come in short gasps. Shadows twist unnaturally across the walls. Jason grabs his phone, trying to call for help. No signal. He tries again. Still nothing. A soft, dragging sound comes from the hallway outside the room. Something is moving. A door at the end of the hallway creaks open slowly on its own. Emily hides her face in Jason's chest. The room grows darker, as if a shadow is spreading. A low, almost human-like moan echoes from the corridor. I want to leave. I want to go home. Emily crying softly. Jason slowly stands, trying to look brave. He grabs a candle from a dresser and lights it. The flame flickers violently, then steadies. He steps into the hallway. The floorboards groan under his weight. Cold wind brushes past him. He shines the candle down the hall. A small, pale hand suddenly reaches out from under the staircase, grabbing at him. Jason stumbles back, screaming. Jason! Emily screaming. The hand disappears as quickly as it appeared. Silence falls. But now, faint whispers are all around them, echoing from the walls and ceiling. Whispers overlapping. Leave. Now. Go. The next morning, the rain has stopped, leaving a damp, foggy landscape outside. Jason and Emily are examining the house by daylight, the horrors of the night before fresh in their minds. They find a small library, dusty and full of cobwebs. Emily opens a large book, flipping through pages of old newspaper clippings. Jason, look at this. Clippings show a series of mysterious deaths and disappearances in the mansion, all involving children. One article catches their attention. A woman named Madeline Thorne was accused of witchcraft and killed on the property in the 1800s. A sudden loud bang upstairs makes them both jump. A chair slides across the floor on its own. The air grows icy again. Jason grabs Emily's hand. We need help. Someone who understands this. Jason finds an old working landline in the study room. He dials frantically. The line clicks. Then a calm, confident voice answers. This is Dr. Marcus Vale. How may I help you? My name is Jason Harper. We moved into a mansion in Willow Creek. Something's wrong. There's a spirit here. It attacked us last night. Take a deep breath. Describe the events from the beginning. Jason recounts everything. The whispers, the shadows, the hand under the stairs, the dragging sounds, and the chilling presence. Emily adds the newspaper clippings about Madeline Thorne. Jason hangs up, glancing at Emily, both knowing that tonight will be even worse than before. The rain has returned, light at first, then heavier. Fog swirls across the lawn. Jason and Emily stand at the edge of the driveway, nervously awaiting Dr. Marcus Vale and his team. A sleek black SUV appears through the mist. 3 figures step out. Dr. Marcus Vale, a calm, experienced paranormal investigator. Sister Helena, a medium with deep spiritual insight. And Liam, a tech specialist with a knack for detecting anomalies. Are you ready? Once we enter, there's no turning back until we've dealt with her. I don't know if I can. Emily, trembling. They all enter the mansion. The doors creak ominously, echoing through the dark hallways. The team sets up equipment, EVP recorders, EMF detectors, cameras, and candles. Dr. Vale explains the plan. Madeline Thorne is strong. She feeds off fear. She reacts to sudden movements, loud sounds, and non-vegetarian food. Her anger stems from betrayal and her violent death. Tonight, we'll attempt to communicate, then bind her spirit. Jason and Emily sit in the corner, holding each other. A faint whisper floats through the room, too soft to catch clearly. A sudden slamming sound upstairs causes Liam to drop his camera. Dr. Vale moves toward the staircase. He ascends, candle in hand. The shadows seem to stretch along the walls, forming twisted shapes. A chilling, high-pitched laugh echoes down the staircase. Dr. Vale carefully approaches a closed door at the end of the hallway. The temperature drops sharply. His breath becomes visible. Madeline Thorne, we are here to help you move on. The door slams open violently on its own. A shadowy figure appears. A pale woman in a tattered dress, her eyes black voids. Long black hair obscures most of her face. She floats a few inches above the floor, moving unnaturally. Madeline Thorne, your anger belongs to the past. You will not harm them. The ghost screams, a high-pitched wail that shakes the walls. Furniture slides across the floor. Candles extinguish themselves one by one. Liam shouts, trying to record everything. Sister Helena steps forward, holding a small pendant glowing faintly. By the light of the old, by the power of the unseen, I call you to listen. The ghost pauses, tilts her head. A whisper emerges, almost human. Why did they betray me? Ghost whispering. Suddenly, a loud crash is heard from downstairs. Jason and Emily run toward the sound. They see furniture thrown across the room. A shadow moves across the ceiling, then lands in front of them. It's Madeline Thorne, Emily screaming. The ghost lunges at Jason. He is thrown across the room. Emily tries to grab him, but the ghost grabs her too. Both are lifted off the ground by an invisible force. Dr. Vale runs to the center of the room, holding a small silver cross and chanting an incantation. The ghost lets out a chilling scream. Leave or die, ghost screaming. Jason manages to grab a piece of broken furniture, swinging it at the ghost. It passes through her like smoke, but slows her down. Dr. Val's shouting grows louder. Sister Helena joins in, the pendant glowing brighter. The ghost starts to dissipate slowly, her wail fading. The air warms. The objects stop moving. Jason and Emily collapse to the floor, exhausted but alive. Dr. Vale's serious to Emily and Jason. This is only the beginning. Spirits like Madeline Thorne, they are powerful. But tonight, she has been weakened. The camera lingers on the shadowy corners of the room, hinting that she may not be gone entirely. Jason and Emily sit as Sister Helena performs a vision ritual. Candles circle them. Incense smoke curls around their faces. Suddenly, the room shifts. The walls seem to bleed. Her fury is born of betrayal, starvation, and murder. They left me. They left me. Ghost whispering. Objects fly. Lights flicker, shadows dart across hallways. Jason and Emily are trapped in a room, terrified. She's feeding off your fear. Stay calm. Dr. Vale shouting. Jason sees ghostly children in the corner, echoes of Madeline's lost family. One reaches toward him, whispering, "Join us." He panics. But Sister Helena intervenes with her pendant, driving the spirits back. Dr. Vale and Sister Helena lure Madeline into the attic. Candles, protective symbols, and chanting surround her. "You can't take me," ghost screaming. Emily, summoned by Sister Helena, repeats her mother's name to calm Madeline, connecting to the part of her soul still human. Madeline, it's time to rest. You don't have to hurt anymore. The ghost shrieks, convulses, then suddenly falls silent, hovering briefly before dissipating into mist. The attic is still. The storm outside breaks into light rain. The mansion is quiet. Broken furniture remains, but the oppressive darkness is gone. Jason and Emily sit, exhausted but alive. It's over. She's gone. For now. Spirits like her leave traces. Respect the house. Don't return alone, Sister Helena. Madeline Thorne's story is a warning. Not all spirits want revenge. Some just want closure. The team leaves, the mansion looming quietly in the early morning fog. The camera lingers on a corner of the attic. Faint black smoke curls, hinting she may not be completely gone. Jason and Emily walk away, holding hands. Birds chirp. Life seems to return to normal, but a faint wind carries a whisper. I'll be waiting, ghost whispering. Cut to black. The credits roll, leaving a lingering sense of unease. Amit was sitting in his cramped room, staring out of the window as the rain poured heavily outside. The sky flashed with bolts of lightning, making the night even more eerie. The sound of the rain pounding against the window seemed endless, heightening the tension in the air. Amit's mind was clouded with worry. He had moved to the city with high hopes, but after 3 months, he was still without a job, and every penny of his savings was almost gone. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden knock on the door. Who could be at my door at this hour, especially in this kind of downpour? A mix of fear and curiosity stirred inside Amit. Who's there? He called out softly, slowly opening the door. A young woman, around 25, stood drenched from the rain. Her body was visibly shaking from the cold, and water dripped from her wet hair. She clutched a bag tightly, as though it was her most precious possession. "Excuse me," she said, her voice trembling. "My car broke down nearby, and I can't go anywhere in this rain. Could I stay here for a while?" Amit eyed her cautiously. There was a car parked in the distance behind her, but he remained suspicious. What's a woman doing out here at this hour? Could she be up to something? She doesn't seem like the type. Despite his doubts, Amit decided to act out of basic human kindness. "All right, come in. It's too dangerous to stand out there in the rain." The woman stepped inside, and Amit handed her a towel. "Sit down. I'll make you some tea." A few minutes later, Amit returned with the tea, and she accepted it with a soft smile. "Thank you. My name is Neha," she explained. "I was on my way from a nearby town, but the car broke down. I couldn't find anyone to help, so I came here. I hoped to get some assistance." Amit smiled back and introduced himself. "I'm Amit. I came here to find work. This area can feel a little eerie at night, though. Not many people around." Neha nodded while sipping her tea. For a moment, silence hung in the room, only broken by the sound of the rain tapping against the window. Neha suddenly spoke up. "Could I use your phone? My battery's dead." Amit handed her his phone, and she dialed a number. After a brief conversation, she hung up. "Yes, I'm safe. Everything will be fine tonight," she said before disconnecting the call. Just as Amit was about to ask something, the lights flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. Amit quickly turned on the flashlight on his phone and began scanning the room. But Neha was gone. Where did she go? Amit thought, panic creeping into his chest. He searched the room frantically, but she was nowhere to be found. Then, another knock echoed through the silence. Amit opened the door, and to his relief, it was his friend, Arvind. "Hey, Amit, why do you look so anxious at this hour?" Arvind asked, noticing his friend's distressed expression. "Having a bad dream or something?" Amit quickly explained the strange situation with Neha. Arvind frowned in concern. What were you thinking, letting a stranger in like that? Arvind said, his voice laced with worry. You know how many strange things have been happening in this city lately. But she left, and all that's left is her bag, Amit replied. Both of them looked at the bag. Arvind slowly unzipped it. The moment he saw inside, his face drained of color, and he took a step back. Inside this bag is Neha's severed head, Arvind exclaimed. Amit stared at him in shock. Neha? How do you know her? In a daze, Amit peered into the bag, expecting the gruesome sight. But instead of a head, there was a folded note. The note read, "Your work is over tonight." Amit turned to Arvind, his voice tense. Do you know Neha? Arvind's face turned ghostly pale. He stammered, Yes, I knew her. She was my fiancée. Amit's heart raced. Then what is all this, Arvind? He demanded. Arvind's trembling voice confessed, I killed Neha. It was the biggest mistake of my life. In my desperation for wealth, I visited a so-called tantric, who told me that if I sacrificed Neha, my fate would change. I did it out of greed. I killed her. Worry. Amit's legs wobbled. And now her soul has come back to take revenge? He whispered. Arvind bowed his head. Yes, Amit. She's here to make me confess my crimes. Amit's voice shook with fear. I was talking to a ghost just now. Just then, the lights flickered back on, and the room was illuminated. Amit and Arvind froze when they saw Neha sitting silently in the corner, her head hanging low, her body still. A low sob escaped from her. Amit and Arvind stood frozen, unable to move. Arvind, gathering his courage, began to walk toward her, trembling. Neha, please, forgive me. I never meant for this to happen. It was my selfishness, my greed. Arvind began, his voice quivering. Slowly, Neha raised her head, revealing deep cuts on her cheeks, blood dripping from the open wounds. Her eyes burned with a mix of pain and anger. But there was also something chilling in her gaze. You never even tried to save me, she whispered. So I thought I should come to you instead. Arvind's eyes filled with tears as he collapsed to his knees. Neha, I love you. Please forgive me. Suddenly, Neha's face twisted into a horrifying smile. She chuckled softly, then said, Oh, my dear Arvind, you really started crying, didn't you? The laughter grew louder, more sinister. Arvind, still kneeling in front of her, tried to speak, but was paralyzed with fear. Before he could utter a word, Neha's fingers, sharp as knives, reached toward his neck. Arvind tried to break free, but Neha's grip was inhumanly strong. She smiled coldly. Where will you go now, Arvind? You can't escape. With one swift motion, Neha's fingers dug into his neck, tearing through flesh and bone. Arvind's screams choked in his throat, and in the next instant, his head was completely severed from his body, falling to the floor with a sickening thud. A fountain of blood sprayed across the walls, painting them red. Neha picked up Arvind's severed head and held it up to her eyes, her smile widening. You thought I would forgive you that easily, she mocked. Amit stood frozen in horror, unable to look away. His heart pounded in his chest, his breath coming in short gasps. The room seemed to darken, the walls closing in. Amit felt his body grow weak, his limbs heavy, and then everything went black. "Sleep now, my dear," Neha's voice echoed in the shadows. "Sleep and become mine forever." Meera Kapoor lived with her parents in a lavish apartment in Mumbai. Her appearance had changed drastically over the last few weeks. Her skin had lost its glow, her cheeks were hollow, and her eyes were sunken as though every drop of life had been drained from her body. Her mother, Nandita, could hardly bear to see her only daughter in this condition. Every night she sat by Meera's bedside, silently weeping, praying for her recovery. Meera was adored by her colleagues, her neighbors, and her extended family. No one could imagine what misfortune had suddenly struck her. It had started innocently. First, a low fever, then recurring headaches, and within a month, Meera was bedridden, slipping in and out of consciousness. She had been taken to some of the best hospitals in the city, yet her condition worsened day by day. To make matters more devastating, her wedding was only weeks away. Seeing her condition, her fiancé's family broke off the engagement. The Kapoors, desperate, invited a priest to conduct rituals in the home. But instead of improving, Meera's state took a terrifying turn. Late one night, the household was startled awake by a chilling scream. Rushing to her room, Nandita and her husband, Raghav, found the lights flickering and the room unnaturally dark. Meera was clawing at the wall with her bare hands. Blood streamed from her fingers, but she showed no sign of pain. "Meera, what are you doing, child?" Nandita cried, trying to pull her back. Meera turned her head slowly, her eyes glowing red, and a twisted laugh escaped her lips, a sound so cold that Nandita felt her body tremble. From that night, nothing was the same. Meera screamed at unseen figures, spoke in guttural tones and languages unknown, and often sat staring at the wall for hours. Doctors dismissed it as a psychiatric breakdown and advised immediate admission to a mental health facility. But her parents refused to believe it. They clung to hope, believing something else was tormenting their daughter. At this time, Raghav's elder sister, Shanti Devi, came from her ancestral village near Nashik. She was a woman of age and experience, with lines of wisdom carved into her face. Having grown up amidst tales of spirits and rituals, she immediately sensed something was wrong. When she approached Meera's room, she stopped at the doorway. A strange heaviness pressed against her chest. "The air here is not clean," she muttered. "This is no illness." Inside, the curtains were shut, the air unnaturally cold. Symbols were scratched into the walls, and Meera sat hunched in a disturbing posture, her eyes blood red. Nandita whispered, "Sister," before she fell ill. She had gone somewhere. Last month she went to Himachal Pradesh for work. Shanti's face darkened. Since she returned, her health has collapsed. Then I fear she has brought something back with her. Your daughter is not ill, she is possessed. If we don't act soon, we may lose her. The very next morning, the family set out with Meera for Himachal. But the road itself turned into a battlefield. In the car, she screamed and laughed hysterically, at times trying to smash the glass windows. Her voice changed, sometimes whispering curses, sometimes crying, and other times muttering, "He is waiting. he will take me away. Raghav gripped the wheel in fear, but they did not stop. After hours of struggle, they finally arrived at an ancient temple hidden deep in the Kulu Valley, dedicated to a fierce local deity. The temple walls bore strange inscriptions, and the surrounding forest seemed alive with whispers. Inside waited a frail old sadhu whose eyes held a piercing intensity. One look at Mira and he declared, "This is no ordinary spirit. It is the wandering soul of a man who died unmarried, cursed to roam and seek a vessel. He has chosen your daughter." The parents fell to his feet. "Save her, please, Baba. She is our only child." The ritual of blood and fire. That night, a haven was prepared. Mira was placed before the sacred flames. The sadhu chanted fiercely, but Mira only sneered. "You cannot free her," the voice growled through her lips. "She belongs to me." The Baba knew the spirit would not leave without a price. A sacrifice must be made, a goat and wine to appease him. Though horrified, the parents agreed. A goat was brought, and as the ceremony reached its height, Raghav placed a plate of meat and a vessel of wine before Mira. At once, her eyes lit with ravenous hunger. She lunged forward, snarling. The sadhu held back the plate. "Only if you release her, spirit. Choose, the girl or the offering." "I want the offering. Then I will leave her body," the voice growled. The sadhu pushed the plate toward her. Mira tore into the meat like a starving beast, devouring every piece until she collapsed unconscious. When she awoke, she was herself again, weak, frightened, but free. Back in Mumbai, Mira slowly regained her strength, but Nandita's mind was unsettled. She had to know how this began. Reluctantly, Mira recounted the trip. She and her colleagues had gone trekking. Her friend Ria led her deep into the woods for photographs. But then, Ria disappeared. Alone, Mira had heard a strange voice. A shadow appeared before her. After that, nothing. "Suspicious," Nandita confronted Ria. At first, Ria denied it, but soon her face twisted into a cruel smile. "Yes, I left her there. I was sick of Mira. Everyone adored her. The boss, the team, even the man I loved chose her. That forest is cursed, and I knew the spirit would take her." "You nearly killed my daughter," Nandita shouted. "You can't prove it," Ria smirked. "No one believes in ghosts." But Mira had secretly recorded her confession. Within days, Ria was dismissed from her job in disgrace. Years have passed, but Mira still struggles with trust. She fears friendship, for betrayal hides behind smiling faces. And though her health is restored, her eyes sometimes wander to the shadows, as though she remembers the spirit that almost claimed her. And I, as her mother, still wake some nights to the sound of that laughter, echoing through my mind.
The RMS Queen Mary was one of the most magnificent ships of the 20th century, a floating palace that carried the rich and famous across the Atlantic. But when the world was at war, it was transformed into a military transport vessel, nicknamed the Grey Ghost. After the war, it was retired and turned into a hotel and museum, docked in Long Beach, California. Since then, guests and staff alike have reported strange occurrences, flickering lights, cold spots, and the sound of footsteps when no one is around. But it wasn't just the whispers of the supernatural that surrounded the Queen Mary. The ship's history was marred by tragedy. In its years of service, hundreds of people died aboard the ship, some from accidents, others from illness, and some from tragic events that remain shrouded in mystery. This is the story of one such incident, a ghostly encounter that continues to haunt those who dare to stay aboard the Queen Mary. It was in 1966 when Michael, a young man working on board the ship as part of the maintenance crew, had his first eerie experience. He had always heard stories about the ship being haunted, but dismissed them as superstitions. After all, he was working in the engine room, far from the haunted areas of the ship. One night, as he was finishing up his shift in the bowels of the ship, he noticed something strange. A cold breeze, an unnatural chill, swept through the otherwise stuffy engine room. He looked around, his eyes scanning the machinery that hummed quietly in the background. He could have sworn he saw a figure out of the corner of his eye, a shadow moving quickly across the room. But when he turned to look, there was nothing there. Shaking it off, he continued his work. But then he heard it. Footsteps, heavy footsteps, walking slowly behind him. His heart raced as he turned around, but again, the room was empty. He wasn't alone. He couldn't see them, but he could feel them. And the footsteps, they weren't stopping. Michael rushed to finish his work, trying to ignore the creeping sense of dread that was settling in his chest. The next night, Michael returned, this time determined to prove to himself that it was just his imagination. But when he entered the engine room, the temperature had dropped again. The lights flickered ominously, casting long shadows on the walls. This time, he wasn't alone. He could feel it, a presence in the room with him, something watching him from the darkness. As he worked, the sound of someone breathing behind him was unmistakable, just over his shoulder, hot and heavy. He turned around, but there was no one there. Panic began to set in as the pressure in the room seemed to build. His flashlight flickered and went out. In the pitch dark, Michael stood frozen, trying to gather his bearings. Then, out of nowhere, the loud sound of clanging metal echoed through the room. It was as if someone had slammed a heavy metal door, but Michael was certain he was alone. He felt an icy hand brush against his neck. His body tensed, and without thinking, he bolted out of the engine room, his heart pounding in his chest. The strange occurrences didn't stop for Michael. His encounters became more frequent, and he wasn't the only one. Other crew members started reporting similar experiences. Strange noises, cold spots, the sound of footsteps, and even sightings of shadowy figures in hallways. It wasn't long before rumors started circulating about a woman's ghost haunting the ship. The legend of the Lady in White was born, an apparition seen by multiple crew members who had worked late hours, usually near the ship's engine room. But the truth of who this ghost was remained a mystery. Some said she was a passenger who had died aboard the ship during a voyage, while others speculated that she was a woman who had tragically taken her life on board. One night, Michael could take no more. He decided to confront the mystery head-on. He had heard about an old passage on the ship, an area off-limits to the crew. It was known as the Haunted Corridor, where the faint sound of a woman's crying had been heard late at night. Michael wanted to find out if the rumors were true. With his flashlight in hand, Michael ventured down the dark hallway, his footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. The ship creaked and groaned as if it were alive, but the silence was deafening. He passed the first few rooms and noticed a faint, melodic sound in the distance. It sounded like a lullaby played on an old piano. The music was faint, but it was unmistakable. As he walked further down the corridor, the sound grew louder and his heart began to race. The air was thick, as if the walls themselves were closing in. At the end of the hall, Michael could see it, a faint glow coming from a room. His hands trembled as he approached the door. When he opened it, the light flickered and he saw her. A woman in a white dress, sitting on an old wooden rocking chair, her back turned to him. Her hair was long and dark, cascading down her back, but her face was hidden. The lullaby continued to play, even though there was no piano in sight. Terrified, Michael stepped closer. "Excuse me, are you okay?" he asked, his voice shaking. The woman's head slowly turned, revealing a hollow, lifeless face. Her eyes were completely black, as if her soul had been swallowed by the darkness. Before Michael could react, the door slammed shut behind him. He was trapped. The rocking chair continued to move, faster now, and the woman's whispering voice filled the room. "You shouldn't have come here. You should leave." The temperature in the room dropped so drastically that Michael could see it. The woman's voice was chilling, like ice scraping across metal. She rose from the chair, her movements jerky, unnatural. Michael backed away toward the door, but it wouldn't open. His heart was pounding in his chest as he looked at the woman, who now stood inches away from him. Her mouth opened wide, but instead of a scream, a gust of wind swept through the room, knocking him to the ground. In that moment, Michael felt a sharp pain in his chest, like something was gripping his heart, squeezing the life out of him. His vision blurred as he gasped for air. And just as suddenly as the pressure had appeared, it was gone. The door to the room burst open, and Michael scrambled to his feet, running down the hallway as fast as he could. When he finally made it back to the main deck, the ship was silent once again. The woman, the lullaby, the whispers, they were gone. But Michael never spoke about what happened. He couldn't. He left the ship that night and never returned. The Queen Mary continued to sit in the harbor, a place where some say the dead never leave, waiting for their next visitor to answer their call. Some say that the woman in white is still aboard the ship, waiting for someone to listen. And others say she's still looking for the one person who can help her escape the curse. If you ever visit the Queen Mary, be careful where you walk, because some ghosts don't want to be found until you find them. When Sarah first moved into the apartment on Maple Street, she thought nothing of it. It was a modest, old building in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place that seemed a bit run down, but with a lot of charm. She was new to town, having recently started a job as a nurse at the local hospital, and was looking for something affordable. The rent was cheap, and it felt like the perfect place to start over after a difficult breakup. The apartment had creaky floors, the windows let in a draft, and there was a strange smell in the hallway. But nothing too alarming. She met the landlord, an older man named Mr. Wilson, who was friendly and assured her that everything was fine with the building. He didn't mention anything about the history of the apartment, which Sarah would later wish he had. Her first few nights, they were uneventful. The apartment was quiet, peaceful even, and Sarah started to settle in. But after the first week, something began to feel off. It started with the lights flickering when she walked into certain rooms. She dismissed it as an electrical issue. Then, she began hearing strange sounds at night, footsteps moving around in the hallway when no one was there. Again, she told herself it was just the old building settling. One evening, after a long shift at the hospital, Sarah came home exhausted and ready for a quiet night. She sat down on the couch, turned on the TV, and tried to relax. But as she settled in, she heard something that stopped her heart. Loud, unmistakable footsteps in the hallway outside her door. Not just footsteps, but the sound of someone pacing back and forth, like they were waiting for something. She froze. The footsteps weren't just faint. They were heavy, deliberate. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she listened. She stood up slowly, heart racing, and walked toward the door. But as she reached for the handle, the sound stopped, and the hallway outside fell into silence. She opened the door cautiously, but found nothing. Only the quiet, dimly lit hallway stretching out before her. Confused, she closed the door and locked it, but the unease didn't fade. That night, she tried to sleep, but every time she closed her eyes, she could hear the faint creak of footsteps just outside her room. It wasn't just the building settling anymore. It felt as though someone, or something, was moving around in the dark. The next day, Sarah went downstairs to pay her rent. She noticed that the landlord, Mr. Wilson, seemed on edge. His usual friendly demeanor was replaced by something more anxious. He handed her the rent receipt quickly, almost hurriedly, and avoided her gaze. As she turned to leave, she caught a glimpse of an old newspaper article on the counter. The headline read, "Tenant found dead in Maple Street Apartments, cause unknown." The article was from the 1980s, and it mentioned the previous tenant of her apartment, a young woman named Emily Harris, who had mysteriously disappeared from the building, her body later found in the basement. The police couldn't determine whether she had died of natural causes or been murdered. The case was never solved, and the apartment had remained empty for years after that. Sarah's stomach twisted. She asked Mr. Wilson about it, but he simply muttered something about it being a tragic accident and quickly changed the subject. But that evening, as Sarah sat in her apartment, the footsteps returned, this time louder, more persistent. She couldn't ignore it any longer. That night, Sarah decided to confront whatever was causing the disturbances. She grabbed a flashlight and crept down the hallway toward the basement door, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. The door was locked, but the key she had found earlier in her drawer fit perfectly. With trembling hands, she unlocked it and descended the narrow stairs into the pitch-black basement. The air was cold, colder than it should have been. Her breath was visible in the air as she made her way down. She shone the flashlight around, casting long shadows on the walls. There was nothing down there at first, just the old storage shelves, the faint smell of dampness, and the eerie silence. But then she heard it, the unmistakable sound of a door creaking open behind her. Slowly, she turned, the beam of her flashlight landing on the figure standing in the doorway. It was a woman. Her face was pale, her clothes torn and ragged. Her eyes were wide with fear, as though she had seen something unimaginable. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. The woman was staring directly at her, her lips moving, but no sound came out. As Sarah took a step forward, the figure vanished, disappearing into the shadows as if she had never been there. Terrified, Sarah ran back up the stairs, her mind reeling from the image of the ghostly figure. But the worst was yet to come. As she returned to her apartment, she felt a sudden chill, so cold it took her breath away. The air was thick with an unnatural weight, and the silence was suffocating. And then she saw it, the reflection of the woman standing at the end of the hallway, staring at her from the mirror on the wall. Her face was distorted with fear, her mouth agape, as if she were begging Sarah for help. The woman's eyes, dark and hollow, locked onto Sarah's. And that's when the whispers started. "Help me." The voice was soft at first, barely audible, but it grew louder, desperate. "I never left. I need you to help me." Sarah's heart raced as she realized the ghost wasn't just haunting the building. It was calling her, looking for someone to finish what was left undone. The woman in the mirror began to stretch toward her, her image distorting as if she were reaching out from the other side. The next day, Sarah did something she never thought she'd do. She called in a medium, someone who could help her understand what was happening in the apartment. The medium arrived and immediately sensed the heavy energy in the air. She asked Sarah to walk her through the apartment and tell her about the experiences she had been having. As they reached the hallway, the medium stopped in her tracks. "This is where she stands," the medium whispered. "The spirit of Emily Harris. She's been trapped here all these years, unable to move on." The medium explained that Emily's death had been tied to her tragic past, a life cut short by neglect and betrayal. She had been left behind by someone she loved, someone who had never come back to save her. Her spirit remained bound to the building, unable to rest until someone acknowledged her suffering. The medium performed a ritual to help Emily's spirit move on, but as the words were spoken, Sarah felt a cold hand touch her shoulder, and for one brief, terrifying moment, she saw Emily's face in the mirror one last time. But this time, the face wasn't twisted in fear. It was peaceful, serene, as if a weight had been lifted. Sarah moved out of the apartment shortly after, and the building was eventually sold. But the stories of the ghostly tenant still circulate among those who have lived there since. Some say they've seen a figure in the hallway, waiting for someone to remember her. Others claim to hear soft whispers at night, asking for help from the past. The old apartment on Maple Street may be gone, but the spirit of Emily Harris remains, a lingering reminder of a life lost, and a story that never fully ends.
Mira had always loved him. Kian's song the rising star of the K-pop world. His voice was melodic, smooth, and rich. His smile, as if crafted by the gods themselves, lit up every stage he graced. Mira had been a fan since his debut. His every movement, every note he sang, left an indelible mark on her heart. She wasn't just another fan in the crowd. No, she believed she was different. She was special. She was the one who truly understood him. She collected everything Kian had ever touched: albums, posters, concert tickets. Her apartment was a shrine, a curated collection of his career, from his earliest days as a trainee to his present success. But the thing that had caught her most was his gaze. When Kian performed, his eyes would lock with hers, and in that brief moment, it was as if time stopped. She imagined that in those fleeting seconds, he could feel her presence. Maybe not in the way she felt it, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that he noticed her. The fans in the crowd screamed, shouted, waved light sticks. But Kian, when his gaze fell upon her, she was certain that it lingered a moment longer than necessary. It was as if there was something more. She wasn't just part of the crowd. She mattered to him. It was a cold Friday evening when she saw the tweet. Kian's agency had announced that they were holding a small exclusive fan meeting for a select group of fans. To win an invitation, you had to engage in the company's social media contest, a raffle that would select only the most dedicated fans. Mira's heart leaped in her chest. This was her chance, her moment. She stayed up all night, entering every possible form of the contest, tagging Kian's official fan pages, reposting, commenting, and sharing every possible post related to the contest. Sleep-deprived and dizzy, she finally received the notification. She was one of the lucky winners. She would meet Kian. Her hands shook with excitement as she reread the email. The details were vague: just a time, a location in Seoul, and a note about special instructions. It didn't matter. She would meet him, face to face. The day arrived faster than she could prepare for it. Mira spent hours perfecting her outfit, styling her hair, and carefully choosing the gift she would give him: a small, handcrafted music box she had spent weeks designing. She wanted to give him something personal, something that said, "I understand you." The fan meeting was held in a nondescript building, away from the bustling crowds. Mira arrived early, her heart pounding in her chest as she waited for the doors to open. Fans trickled in, all of them talking excitedly. But Mira stayed quiet, her eyes focused on the entrance, waiting for Kian to appear. When he finally stepped into the room, everything else faded away. He was even more beautiful in person. His presence was magnetic, his smile brighter than she had ever imagined. He walked down the aisle between the rows of fans, his eyes scanning the room, stopping briefly as he looked into Mira's eyes. It was brief, a passing moment, but for Mira, it felt like an eternity. The fan meeting was everything Mira had imagined. Kian answered questions, joked with the crowd, and took pictures with fans. Each time he smiled or laughed, Mira felt a part of her heart soften. This was it. This was the moment she had been waiting for. When it was her turn to meet him, she stepped forward, trembling with anticipation. The distance between them felt like an eternity. As Kian extended his hand, she placed the music box in his palm. He looked at it with a small frown, then up at her with a raised eyebrow. "You made this?" he asked, his voice smooth and warm. Mira nodded, her breath catching. "It's for you," she said softly. I... I thought you might like it. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Thank you. I'll keep it safe. Her heart raced as he took a photo with her. He stood too close, his hand resting on her shoulder. The photo was taken, but for Mira, time seemed to stand still. For a brief moment, she thought she saw something in his eyes. A flicker. Recognition. As if Kian was seeing her for the first time. It was nothing, she told herself. He was just being kind. But as she left the room, a strange unease began to coil in her stomach. The fan meeting ended, but Mira's obsession with Kian only deepened. That night, she replayed the moments in her mind. His smile, his touch. There was no doubt in her mind now. She was different from the others. He had noticed her. And even though it was brief, he had remembered her. Days passed and Mira found herself obsessively searching for anything related to Kian. Videos, photos, fan and interactions. But then one night she found something odd. It was a simple message on his fan page. Thank you for the beautiful gift. I've been thinking about it all day. It was from Kian. But the message wasn't meant for the public. It was a private post, one directed solely at her. Her fingers shook as she typed a response. I'm glad you liked it. I made it with you in mind. She hit send, not expecting a reply. But to her surprise, Kian responded almost immediately. Come to the studio tomorrow night. I'll be waiting. Her heart raced. This couldn't be real. The next day, Mira followed the instructions in the message. She arrived at the studio just as nightfall set in, her breath visible in the cold air. The lights in the building were dim, and there were no signs of anyone else. Mira hesitated for a moment, but then pressed the doorbell. The door opened almost immediately. There, standing in the dim light, was Kian. His eyes were cold, but they lingered on her, unblinking. You came, he said, voice soft but unmistakably sharp. Good. Come inside. Mira's heart pounded as she stepped into the darkened hallway of the studio. The air was thick with the scent of incense and old leather. Kian led her down a narrow corridor, past empty rooms filled with sound equipment and recording instruments. Do you like it here? He asked, his voice distant, like he was testing her. I do, Mira said, struggling to steady her voice. I love your music. I feel connected to you, more than I can explain. He nodded slowly, his gaze never leaving her face. They reached a small, dimly lit room. A large window on one wall overlooked the city below. The entire space was eerily quiet, except for the soft hum of machines in the background. Sit, Kian said, gesturing to a chair at the center of the room. Mira obeyed, her body trembling. Kian closed the door behind them. You know, Mira, he began, his voice suddenly colder, more deliberate. You're not like the other fans. They scream, they shout, they beg for my attention. But you've always been different. You've watched, haven't you? From the shadows, in silence, in silence. Mira's throat tightened. I don't understand. His eyes glinted with something dark. You gave me the gift, the music box. It's beautiful. But you've been watching me, not just through the camera, but through everything. Mira recoiled, her hands shaking. She had been too careful, too hidden. How did he know? Kian stepped closer, his voice soft but filled with a chilling certainty. "You think I didn't notice? That I didn't feel your gaze on me all this time? You've been the one who watches me from the shadows. But now I want to see you, Mira, all of you." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small black device. A camera. Mira's heart stopped. "You wanted to be close to me, didn't you? You wanted to know me. But now I'm going to show you something." He pressed a button, and the room's lights flickered. Images appeared on the screen, one after another. Video clips of Mira from her apartment, watching him through the camera. The recordings were crystal clear. Her body froze in horror. He had been watching her. "You've been following me for so long," Kian whispered, his voice almost a lullaby. "But now you're mine. You belong to me, just like all the others." The room felt suffocating. The images on the screen were of her quiet moments, her obsessive gaze. And then the message became clear. He was not the one being watched. He had always been the watcher. Suddenly, Mira realized with a sickening twist in her stomach that she had become part of his collection, his private world. The door slammed shut behind her. Kian stepped forward, his eyes glinting with malice. "You wanted me. You watched me. Now you're here, and you will never leave." Mira's pulse pounded as she backed into the corner of the room. "What do you mean? You can't do this to me." Kian smiled darkly. "The game's over, Mira. You're not the first one to fall into my trap, but you're the one who watched the longest." He stepped closer, and this time, his voice dropped to a whisper. "And now, you will always be here.